In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the most important and oftentimes frustrating forms you're going to fill out early on in your divorce case, and that's called the Financial Information Statement. What is it and how to fill it out and what its consequences are, that's the topic of today's video. Hi, my name is Sean Palmer. I'm with the Palmer Law Firm, and I've been practicing family law in the great state of Texas for about 19 years. And that's all I do, family law. And so one of the things I see over and over and over again is how frustrating it is for clients to complete a form that's required by the court called a Financial Information Statement. What is this? Well, it's basically a snapshot of your financial condition at the time that you're getting the divorce. So, judges don't want to slog through a whole lot of financial information, especially in the early stages of the divorce, prior to us being able to get a lot of the information that we might need from the other party. The judge wants to know very quickly and succinctly what is the condition of your marital estate. Who's the primary wage earner and who is the one who has some needs that are being not met if the separation is financially sided to one side or the other. So if you're seeking spousal maintenance on a temporary basis or child support on a temporary basis, the financial information statement is going to give the guide to the judge about who should get what and then how much they should do that. So the financial information statement is usually seen at the beginning of the case at the temporary order stage, where we're trying to just get some orders in place to allow the parties to continue to live while the divorce is pending. However, the FIS is used at other times in the litigation stages and can be used anytime there's a hearing. So it's always a good idea to make sure that that FIS is accurate from one hearing to the next as new information comes in. Now, the basic parts of the FIS are what are the income and what are the expenses. So the income from both spouses and the expenses for both spouses, what are the ongoing things for that. And finding out the income maybe sounds like it's an easy prospect. You just look at your pay stubs perhaps, or off the top of your head. Don't advise that. Income is a funny thing. What is income? What are you actually getting in? There's net income, there's gross income, there's pre-tax income, there's deferred income. So there's a lot of things involved in it, a lot of moving parts, and most people just don't really know how much they make. So when you're filling out your financial information statement, I highly recommend that you get a calculator, at least 3 pay stubs from the last 3 pay stubs. But if you work where your income fluctuates, you may need to go even further back, and especially in a year where you might have some unusual income levels, either high or low, you're going to want to go even further back and figure out what your incomes are. So also helpful and required in a lot of courts is that you provide at least 2 years of tax returns. Now, I recommend 3, especially in a year where you might have some unusual income going on. You want to get a wider snapshot of what is going on for the income, so that you can look through those and average them out if you had an unusual year. But between the pay stubs and the tax returns, you should be able to get a handle on what the income is for both of the parties. Now, there are other sources of income that might not be put on the tax returns, and you'll have to do a little bit of investigation about that. One thing that would be a good idea to do for either the wage earning spouse or the non-wage earning spouse is to get a credit report done. And the credit report will reveal a lot of information about, for example, how much is on the mortgage, left on the mortgage, and things like that. But in terms of your income, though, as much information as you can get is important. So then on the expense side, you're going to want to put down expenses. Now, expenses are also widely unknown by people in general. They don't know how much money is going out. And so you're going to need to look at other sources. And I often attach those sources to the FIS or somehow bring it into the trial, the hearing for temporary orders, for example, to justify what the client has put down for their expenses. Now, if you are newly separated, you might not know what your expenses are. So good sources to go to for that are your checking and savings accounts to see, if you use your card repeatedly for expenses, get a handle on what those expenses are on a monthly basis. Everything in the FIS, by the way, is on a monthly basis. So you have to, divide by 12 if you've got a yearly sort of calculation. But anyway, on the expense side, you want to make sure that you are looking at expenses, not just what has happened in the past when you were living together, but what is currently happening, and also what you're going to need in the near future. So, obviously, two people can't live together. Two people can't live separately as cheaply as they could live together. You have rents and different things like that. So you want to make sure you have an accurate account and projecting in the next few months what your expenses are going to be, particularly if you are the non-wage earning spouse and you have to get an apartment or something like that. You have to calculate the realistic amount for what rent would be. You're going to need money for a deposit. If you don't have access to a car, you're going to need those kinds of expenses, and you need to sort of think, broadly and into the future as far as expenses. You want to talk about, what am I going to need over a year? Sometimes some expenses aren't on a neat monthly basis. For example, summer camp. If you have kids that go to summer camp every year and you're in the process of getting divorced in the springtime perhaps, and you're going to need some money for that camp, you need to put that into your FIS. And now's not necessarily the time. If you have the resources, if the community has the resources, you don't have to live a pauper's life. You don't have to cut out things that you've normally done, like haircuts and clothes and things like that. You need to do a realistic budget and put that into the FIS as expenses. So making sure your expenses are accurate is very important, because if you shortchange yourself on the expenses, then that's going to haunt you probably later on down when it comes to the finalization of the divorce, because that sort of sets the tone for the expenses and what you're getting for spousal maintenance and child support. So make sure it's accurate and make sure that it is projecting the real costs that are out there. And a lot of people don't really know what that is. So you might want to go, for example, and connect one of these apps that they have that can connect with your checking account, which will help you formulate a budget. The real problem with all this, of course, is that most people aren't very good with their household budgets, and now they're forced to do it because of the litigation, and it's a mad scramble to get the data and to get it correctly done. And usually, as I say, these FISs come at the beginning of the lawsuit, so you're not going to have a lot of time to do these things that, and get your budget together the way you probably have been on your to-do list for years, perhaps. But now it's absolutely critical. So make sure that it's accurate. Make sure you take the time to prepare it. Now, your attorney can assist you in that, but he can't come up with the information. You have to provide the information. So you need to go out and gather things like information about your monthly expenses. As I said, you can check out your credit report. You can look at your bank statements, credit cards, of course. And you got to include those payments on those debts in your FIS as well. If you're making payments on a credit card, you need to write down what the minimum payments are at least, so that because that's an ongoing payment you can have on a monthly basis. But moving further on, after this, after the FIS is completed and you sort of got a better idea of what your expenses are, keep track of that now as you move forward. Keep track of your monthly expenses. And then you're going to know better when it comes time to the final negotiation what you need to do to negotiate. The FIS, again, has to be accurate, because a lot of people will show up to a temporary order hearing and their FIS is a hot mess, and it's either filled with blanks. In a lot of cases, people don't even show up. Some opposing counsels even show up without a completed FIS, although it's required by the court, and you're not going to please the judge in your temporary order hearing when you're not giving them the aids they need to be able to determine the financial side of what's going to happen, particularly in temporary orders. So that'll go against you. But you got to make sure your FIS adds up. So if you're putting income in there for your spouse at a certain amount, and then you put all these expenses you're putting in, you might want to kind of fudge a little bit on your, you might be tempted to do that, fudge a little bit on your expenses if you're trying to get support. I don't recommend that, because if your FIS doesn't add up, your credibility is on the line. And it's hard to win credibility back once the judge has determined that you're kind of lying on your statement here. The financial information statement is a sworn statement, and you're saying this is the truth to the best of my knowledge. And if your income far, or I should say your expenses far exceed the income for your household, the judge is going to say, well, how have you been living together as a couple under this sort of situation? Some people do, live beyond their means, but you're going to have to justify, those expenses. But again, don't shortchange yourself. Now, if you are the wage earner, a little bit of advice: don't shortchange yourself on your income, in the sense of don't put more income than is actually you're actually actualizing. So, for example, let's say you have rental income. Okay, don't fail to put down all of the expenses that go along with rental income. You've got to pay for landscaping, or you've got to pay taxes and things like that. Those are all part of that, rental income. It's not just the monthly amount that's coming in; it's the amount that is going out as well. And so, if you don't account for that in your financial information statement, you might be wind up paying a lot more in spousal maintenance or child support, and of course, that's not fair. So, in sum, it's very important for you to complete the financial information statement accurately. And obviously, you got to have it done in time for your hearings. So you really need to get right on that right away as soon as your lawyer gives you that. If you accurately fill it out, provide supporting documentation, and really give a lot of thought about it, then you're going to save yourself money. You're going to save yourself heartache, and it's going to help the judge settle those financial situations, particularly at the beginning of the case, or maybe even later on. And so you got to gather your income, your expenses, your assets, your liabilities. And I know that can feel overwhelming. People put it off for a reason, because it's a lot of work. But you got to consider this like filing your taxes. It's absolutely important. And it's absolutely important that you get it right, or you're going to get sort of audited on it. You will get audited on an FIS that's not accurate, whereas tax return, you maybe not. So consider it like a tax return, and do it as accurately and as timely as you can do that, because that's going to give the judge the information they need to help you as you proceed at the beginning of your divorce case. Well, that's what we have for today. Again, my name is Sean Palmer with the Palmer Law Firm, where we can't protect your heart, but we can protect your rights. If you have any questions about this content, just leave a comment below, and we'll try to answer that, or reach out to us on our website, or just give us a call. Hope you have a good day.